welcome to Living Life on Less. Today's video is inspired by a couple of the leaflets issued by the government during the Second World War about make, do and mend. Now, anybody that lives frugally has learned how to make, do and mend. We mend things, we repair things, we repurpose things, using things for multiple purposes than other what they was intended, saving us money. We won't just go and buy new if something breaks or on a whim. For most of us, this is optional. We choose this lifestyle to be careful and prudent with our money so we can spend our money on the things we truly love or truly appreciate. During the Second World War, it wasn't optional. There just wasn't the resources and there wasn't the supplies. So you had to use resourcefulness and you had to learn to make, do and mend. This is a short video just reading from a couple of the government's leaflets. The first one is what mothers can do to save buying new. And the second leaflet was your household linen has got to last. So here's some useful suggestions. What mothers can do to save buying new. Reinforcing children's clothes. One of the first things to remember is that reinforced clothes last twice as long. This applies particularly to children's clothes, which receive such a lot of wear and tear, and they should be reinforced when they are first new. Here are two suggestions. Knickers. The seat of the knickers and trousers should be strengthened by patching on the inside. Patches should be kept in position by herringbone stitch. When there is already a lining, they should be fixed as an interlining. Socks. Hand-knitted socks should have the heels and toes knitted either in double wool or with one thread of wool and another of strong cotton thread. A similar idea is to darn stockings at the heel and toe before ever worn, and the centre back seam should be firmly oversewn on the inside of the heel. So the first tips are reinforce your clothes before they are even worn, especially children, because they need the hard-wearing clothes. School clothes. Wait until existing clothes are really worn out. If your child is just starting school, before buying the uniform. When children approach school leaving age, buy clothes that are suitable for post-school wear. When the uniform has been discarded for school wear, simple alterations can completely change its appearance. When considering the question of reinforcing, particular attention should be focused on the school children's clothes. Schoolgirls' blouses, for instance, wear particularly quickly on desks and should be reinforced with semicircled material at the elbow and strengthened across the back. Schoolboys' jackets can be bound at the elbows. Useful material is leather from worn-out gloves. Hints on cutting new clothes for children. Leave good turnings on the following parts when cutting out new clothes for children: side seams, top edges of skirts and trousers, and lower edges of bodices, underarm seams of sleeves in one-piece sleeves, birth seams in two-piece sleeves, across the shoulder, centre-back seams on coats and jackets, also at the hem, cuffs and trouser hems. Leave the extra material inside the seams of the garment when making it up, so that at some future date it can be let out again. In the case for one-piece garments, such as a sleeping suit, allow for a deep tuck at the waistline, and in the case of the material with a yoke, leave material under the yoke. Always make and buy children's clothes on the big side. I have a friend that does that when she buys her son's uniform. She buys extra long trousers, takes them up with loose sort of tacking stitches, and when he's grown a bit, lets the hemline down and just presses the seams out. So it's a great way of ensuring that the trousers are going to last through a few terms, or semesters as you may call them in some countries, letting them down as her son grows in height. Of course, there's nothing to say you couldn't actually do that with skirts too. Cutting down grown-ups' clothes for children. Never cut up clothes until they are totally beyond repair. If you are not an expert, always use a pattern when you cut down grown-ups' clothes for children. Hold the material up to the light to find the weak spots and mark with a ring of coloured tacking any worn parts that would not last long that need to be cut out. Having unpicked the garment, wash and press all the pieces, then arrange the pattern on them, avoiding any of the marked places. Make up as you would a new garment. Don't be afraid of using different materials or colours, so as long as they wash the same way. Sleeves of non-matching material look perfectly well, and the bodice of a dress can be different from a skirt. Some of the following are suggestions as ideas. Men's jackets into small girls' or boys' overcoats and jackets. Men's pajamas into small children's underclothes, sleeping suits, night dresses, overalls, blouses, and shirts or summer frocks. Men's old shirts into dresses, blouses, underclothes, and nightgowns. Most women's clothes can be cut down for children into dresses, coats, toddler suits, and underclothes. Shoes and slippers. Slippers of all sizes can be made from old felt hats, pieces of thick cloth. The best way is to take a pattern of the foot on a sheet of newspaper, draw a lining around it, and allow an eighth of an inch turning. The top pieces should also be cut to a pattern. Looking after shoes. Remind children to wear slippers in the house, as it does save kicking out the toes and sitting with leather shoes in front of a fire. If your child has Wellingtons, see that they are only worn when it's raining. Rubber is scarce and they are an asset which may become difficult to possess. Always see that shoelaces are untied before the children kick off their shoes. Shoe and clothing exchanges. In many cupboards throughout the country, children's shoes are lying idle, not because they are outworn, simply because they are outgrown. Local schools, welfare clinics, or women's organisations arrange for exchanges of outgrown shoes. And leaflet 2. Your household linen has got to last. And here's some useful suggestions. Storage. If you have some linen which is not in use, store it away, but not in a hot cupboard and not if it's starched. For long storage, wrap in paper parcels and place in a cool but dry chest, cupboard or drawer. Wash, mend and air before putting it away. Refold at intervals to prevent wear at the creases. Only store clean linen. Mending. There is a lot of wear left in linens which look worn, and every ounce of wear must be got out of them. Hold sheets, pillowcases, and towels up to a strong light and look through them. This will show up any tiny holes and slits, such as cuts made by razor blades, which are almost invisible before the towel is washed, but become large and ragged afterwards. When patching, use old material. A new patch on a worn towel, for instance, is liable to tear away. Always mend linen before it is washed. Sheets and pillowcases. When sheets get very thin, turn them sides to middle by cutting them lengthways down the centre and either over sewing the outside edges together or joining them with a run and fell seam. Trim away the torn parts of what are now the sides of the sheet, turn in the edges, hem them. When pillowcases get too thin to be used without risk of tearing, join the front and the back together with rows of running stitch. Then add a false back of any washing material and slip in the pillow in the ordinary way. Towels. Thin places and small holes can be reinforced by machine darning or by hand darning with soft mending cotton. Large holes should be patched with the sound parts of other old toweling. Never use new material. Patches on towels should be tacked in position with the edge of the patch being turned in. These edges should be stitched onto the towel with herringbone or cross stitch. If you haven't a towel rail, fix a loop to two diagonal corners of the towel so they can be hung up without damage. Change the loop it is hanging from time to time. This will equalise wear, as towels are bound to be used while they are still hanging on the hook. Sew two thin tea towels together, arranging that the holes in the one are covered with the sound part of the other cloth. When dusters wear thin, sew two together around the edge and several times across the centre. And finally, washing hints. 1. Mend all holes and tears before washing, whether they are done at home or at the laundry. If you haven't time to do a proper darn, catch tears together. Laundries are working under difficulties these days, and a stitch in time would be appreciated. Number 2. Most stains can be removed if dealt with at once by just using plain tepid water. Number 3. Never let clothes or household linens get really dirty. Several gentle washes are less harmful than one hard one, and use soft water. Rainwater is best. 4. Separate whites from coloureds and soak dirty whites overnight in soapy water. Dissolve the soap in a separate jar of very hot water to make a lather, and then add it to the cold water in which the linen is to be soaked. Tip number 5. It is better not to boil linen and cottons, and never boil coloureds. If whites have to be boiled and the water is hard, add soda. Leave for a few minutes and avoid bleaching, which is an expert's job. If need to, dry in the sun instead. 6. Wash in hot soapy water using only sufficient soap to make a lather. Note any particular dirty parts before putting the things into the water can be rubbed with hard soap. Final tip, number 7. Rinse thoroughly until the water is clear and dry out of doors when possible. The whites in the sun and the coloureds in the shade. Roll up for ironing when still slightly damp. Quite a few good tips there. Some a little bit extreme that I doubt we'll be doing today, such as mending sheets into the centre. I imagine they'd actually be a little bit uncomfortable to sleep on. And on that note, thanks for watching. We're back again very soon with another video. Take care and have a lovely day wherever you are.